All right, so we are going to be talking about Serato Sampler. I'm going to show you how I use it to create songs, or what I mean, I don't make the whole song in there, but I'm definitely going to show you. So what I did was I took Radio Unit. This is an iOS app. Just picked a station that I listen to, sometimes mostly jazz. Took a little sample. Here it is right here. And then what you can do with Serato Sampler is when you have it open, you can just drag and drop it in. So you'll see right there, that's what I did, audio 2. Then I made myself 3 different copies, and on each one, when I go into it, I'll use find samples. So I click find samples, it finds the samples, and then I can play those samples back and forth. But I like to make 3 parts, sometimes 4 parts. If I do, for instance, an intro, I might build an intro off of using something from the sample too. You never know. This is a 16 bar sample. We got I think the original sample was closer to 130 BPM. So I just did it at halftime, put it at 65 BPM for mine, stretched the sample, pitched it down. The way I pitch it down is just right here, right? D tune. So this was originally in key of A minor. I pitched it 2 semitones down to G minor, and I got it synced up. This is the sync button. And if I unsync it, you'll see it's 129.26. Put the sync in, it's 65 BPM. I leave it on mono, take the drums out generally. Sometimes I leave the bass, depends on the song or the sample. If it's an old sample, if you take the bass out, sometimes you don't have much to work with. So I'll leave the bass in, but some of the new, if you're sampling something newer, is that right? Yeah. Like more modern sounding songs, sometimes taking the bass out is cool, right? If you're just trying to get the chords or just getting the melody or something like that. Or vocals, same principle. So in this case, I left everything but the drums in, all right? So here's what I came up with. So this is the first sample. And you can see in the MIDI notes. Right, so that's part of it. Then here's the next part. Okay. So then I just started working on this part, and here's like a bridge for it. So we'll play that part. Okay, so there you have it. So why is this doing this? Let's see. Oh, because I didn't stretch the sample out. That would be why. Make sure it does that. So I might, to get that little pop off the end or whatever that is, I might do that. Maybe I'll push this in just a little bit. There you go. All right, so these are just ideas. This is not an actual song I'm really working on. I'm just doing something to show you how you could do it. So you could have this come in like a little, what is this, 4 bars? Yeah, 4 bars. So maybe as a bridge, right? And then go back into your verse. So you see how I'm just creating that, and then all I got to do is go oops, undo that. Wait, what did I just do? Okay, yeah, duplicate. Okay, so there you go. So you can see how you can make a song pretty quick. And now you have, right? So then next step I would do is just go into maybe start building some drums. I'll probably do the snare first. I like to do separate samples. You could use the Serato sample to get drums off of. I've done that, where you take a drum break and then just chop it up and just pull the drum parts off of it. The other option would be what I'm about to do right now, which is just go grab some one shots. I like a little simple snare. Drag it, drop it down here, turn it on one shot. And then I'll layer the snares real quick. Now you could draw these in pretty fast. So I'm gonna do that just for the sake. If you go Shift Command M, creates a MIDI region, or you could just click and create one and then stretch it out. Either way. C3 is always the middle C, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just put some on the 2 and the 4. Cool. So now I have a MIDI track. I can just duplicate it across, however you want. If you want to get some variation in those drums, so let's say we go with this part and we just join this, and then we go here and we join this. I'm joining the parts to make it easier, right? Then all I have to do is go in and use the randomize feature. I'll turn it down to like 37, hit randomize there. Then I'll come over here, it's the same thing. Leave it on 37, randomize. There you go. So now you have, just gives it some variation in it. I always keep on a track here on a drum bus. I just keep a reverb thing and I send it. Back here. This is really basic. This is not putting a lot of effort into this, but all right. So on the kick, drag and drop it here. I'm using the speaker from my MacBook Pro. So if you're wondering why you can't hardly hear it, I'm not trying to distort the sound either though. So if you listen through some speakers, it'll sound better than this, but this is just to give you an idea. So let's just put some simple drums. That's it. All right. Nothing major going on here. The idea is just to show you how to get started. You don't want to kick hitting on the same one where the snare is hitting. So make sure you don't have anything like I just did on the 2 and the 4. Leave those open so that the snare can sound. So there you go. So that's pretty good. Then if you just want to duplicate it, same principle, you could just throw it across or however. Oops. I guess I forgot to fix it. Yep. You got to get those tail ends off and then hit Command J. Now it consolidates it. Now you could go duplicate and it'll go right. There you go. Same thing with the hats. I'm just going to throw some hats over. Let's do this real quick. Nothing spectacular. That'll work. Just picking the first thing I hear. Drag, drop here. One shot that thing. If it's too loud, like you think that, I usually drop it down. Sometimes I'll start it. There you go. Get yourself something a little different. Hit record. That's good enough for me. Just simple. For my purposes, I'll select all and I will right click and set the grid to a 30-second and then I'll quantize sometimes. If you don't have a controller, MIDI controller, set the randomize up and just randomize that one. And one thing to keep them from being so repetitive all the time is, let's say you did it there. Now come over here and do it again. You can do this on Logic too, by the way. So there you go. So now it's all, so now neither one, you got a couple of different ones that sound different. You can just Command J, join them if you want, duplicate them out. Of course, you can do your, a lot of people do drums different, so I'm not sitting here trying to teach you. This is just simple stuff. There you go. So you can see how quickly you could come up with a track by building parts from one 16-bar sample that I pulled. You can do this with your, splice samples, if that's what you use, or any sample loops that you have. Just throw them in Serato Sampler, and start tweaking them. If you want to get crazy with them even more so, go into them and start adding effects or filters over them. There's a filter built in with an attack release in there too. Also the ability to reverse them. I think I showed all this stuff in the previous video, so you can watch that if you want to know more about the features. But I just wanted to show you my use case for workflow on this. And I try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't sample a lot, but every now and then I do want to sample, or if I want to use a sample to help me come up with a start. But I don't like sampling, just taking an actual loop of something. I like to pick parts and chop it up and find little samples within the sample to kind of play back another rhythm or something. And then, of course, you can always do percussion and stuff like that. This track will not be saved. It's just to show demonstration purposes. I don't own this song or any of this stuff, so I don't want nobody coming after me for something like that when it's just for demo purposes, okay? So then I usually, my next step would be add bass, or if I want to play live guitar, or if I want to play some keys or melody over this. If you want to, hold on, I'm gonna do this, show you something else. Somebody asked about scalar not too long ago. I'm gonna minimize some of these scalar things. I'm gonna show you this real quick. So if you want to get the audio to find out what the MIDI chords could possibly be, one of the cool things is just freeze the track. So you see right here, freeze the track, okay? Then right below it, just click insert audio. Pull it up there, hit option and grab this, and you can pull that part down, right? We don't need two, I'm just gonna pull one down. All right, then take scalar. I always have scalar in here. Open up scalar and then drag the audio into it. It will ask you to replace the current detection. We'll say yes, because there is none. And there you go. You start to see you have some chords you can use. Then you grab yourself a piano plug-in that you want to use. I'm going to get Spitfire Audio just because it's a lot easier for me to Intimate Piano. I'll drag it onto the keys. We'll just use the Intimate Piano for the sake. Because maybe you don't want to use the sample, which is fine, right? Now you have this. Press record on the track you want to put it on. Okay, cool. Open this up so you can see it. So you could add these chords over the top of it if you wanted to. Or another synth or whatever you want to use them on. But the purpose is to stack the sound, right? So you can do that. I'd use that. Sometimes I use that. Sometimes I'll just get the key of what the song is in. Once I know the key, then I'll just make up my own chords, or I'll use some other chords that are a little bit thicker, like 13th chords and whatever, 9th chords. But this is just one way to make a song, and I don't do this every single time I make a song. It just depends on what sample I'm using, depends on the vibe that I'm feeling. Most of my songs, I'd say 85% of my songs are something original. I rarely like to sample, but every now and then I get the itch and want to do something a little different, right? So then this is what I do. All right, that's how I use Scalar, and mostly, I mean, this is more about Serato. That's how I use Serato Sampler to come up with a track idea. And it basically has to do with building parts and using the find sample feature in there to find samples, pitching, doing whatever else you can do to make it sound creatively different. All right, I'm out.